Over the last 2 weeks, 32 teams entered Malta with one goal in mind, securing a spot in the playoffs of ESL Pro League Season 19. Well now, 16 teams are hitting the beach in Cancun, and 16 teams are getting ready to compete this week to see who will be champion. And in today's video, we will be looking at the playoff bracket and making our predictions for the action that is about to take place. Oh god, sorry about that. Just sometimes it happens with my voice. Anyways, today we're going to take a second, look at the playoff brackets, make our predictions for who's going to win, who's going to lose. So that sounds interesting to you guys. Make sure we take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithm. Many of you watch these videos are not subscribed, so make sure you do it. And while you're down there, consider becoming a channel member. For $5 a month, you can support me directly in what we do here, gain access to exclusive emblems, emotes, a shout out at every video, as well as new features coming soon. And lastly, check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/LionHeartZ1337. I stream Sunday through Friday, 8:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Come check me out. We're playing Counter-Strike tonight. We have some variety game stuff planned for this week, so make sure you come look me up. And let's get started with the predictions. And boom, there is our bracket up on your screen so you can follow along at home. We're starting off with the round of 16, again starting tomorrow, Tuesday, May 7th. For our 4 round of 16 matchups, we have Big versus G2, Gamer Legion versus Virtus Pro, Bet Boom versus FlyQuest, and FaZe versus Monty. Taking things one at a time, we have Big versus G2. Going into this, I do not expect Big to be able to do anything against this G2 lineup. I think if G2 come, they play a comfortable game. Muncie continues his world-class #1 player in the world form. G2 are comfortably winning this matchup. It should be a 2-0. However, that comes with the caveat that G2 are one of the most inconsistent top 10 teams in the world. You never know what you are going to get series to series, which means could G2 lose a map to this big team? Absolutely. This could be a 3-mapper out of nowhere, and it would be really sketchy if it was. G2 need to win this confidently. They need to generate some momentum so they can go into the round of 12 and eventually the quarterfinals and have a chance to make a finals while Monasy is playing to this level. If G2 fail to at least make a quarter or a semifinals appearance in this tournament, I would say that this is at the point where they need to consider a roster swap. Monasy is too good to be wasting this potential, and G2 have been far too inconsistent while Monasy is playing this good. Next up, we have Gamer Legion versus the new look Virtus Pro. Now listen, Virtus Pro on paper are the better team. They should be winning this series every single time. However, this is the first tournament with Electronic. This is a brand new lineup who is going to be playing very differently than the old version of Virtus Pro. That means they're liable to be shaky, especially in a first round playoff appearance. Gamer Legion are a very solid, however, lesser team in terms of quality. Snacks, I think, is definitely the better in-game leader than Jame. However, the firepower for Virtus Pro is very clearly better. Snacks could easily manufacture his way around to winning a map. And if that's the case, I think Virtus Pro are going to be a little bit shook. Out of all the first round matchups, this is easily the highest point for a potential upset. However, Virtus Pro play their game. They play to the level that we expect of this caliber of team. They should beat Gamer Legion 2-0. However, I have a feeling in my gut this is going to be a 2-1 Virtus Pro grinder for them to advance through to the next stage. Next up, unfortunately, is the weakest matchup in the round of 16. It's Bet Boom versus FlyQuest. I am being very brutally honest when I say this. This is not meant to be a slight against these two teams. But these guys are frankly playing to see who's going to lose to Liquid in the next round. That's just the reality. Liquid are a top 10 team. They are in the hunt to make a semifinals or better in this tournament. And they're going to beat FlyQuest or Bet Boom every single day unless there's a lightning strike in Malta. That's just the reality. However, let's look at the game ahead of us. I think FlyQuest coming in out the last chance, they are riding some momentum. They were very dominant in that final series. I think they are riding high if they play a very confident, strong style that we saw in that last chance finals where they were taking aggressive map control, really forcing the pace against their opponents. I think FlyQuest should beat Bet Boom, but I think this is going to go 3 maps. I think these teams are very evenly matched, and I expect them to go head to head on pretty much every single round. Wrapping up the round of 16, we have FaZe versus Monty, and this should be easy. FaZe should be wrapping this up 2-0. FaZe right now are in an interesting position. This is the group of death. Whoever wins this match, FaZe or Monty, has to go play Na'Vi. Whoever wins that has to go play Vitality. This bracket was going to be a nightmare regardless of whether Complexity or Na'Vi won in the finals yesterday, and because Complexity doesn't know what a kilometer is, they came out on top, and now we have the major winners Na'Vi in the middle of this, sandwiched between the #1 team in the world, FaZe, and a top 5 team and contender in Vitality. Could Monty take a map off FaZe? I think it's possible, but it's an outside shot. FaZe are notorious for starting off playoff stages a little bit slow. Sometimes they need a little bit of time to get going. It's not until the quarters or the semis where the championship phase of old rears its ugly head and there's just no hope of stopping them. I think in this first round, could Monty surprise FaZe, especially on a pick like Vertigo or Ancient? Yeah, I think it is possible. However, it's unlikely. I think FaZe, again, 2-0, going through to the next round comfortably. Moving on to the round of 12, starting with our first matchup in the round of 12, we have Team 3D Max versus G2. Once again, G2, if they do what they need to do, if Munacy and Nico and Nexa and Hunter all produce at the level they are capable of, they will beat 3D Max every single time. However, again, G2, the most inconsistent team in the top 10, I think they are liable to drop a map. G2 should win this 2-0, but if it goes 3 maps, I would not be surprised. Following that, we have the Mongols against Virtus.pro. I think both these teams actually match up against each other very well. I think the Mongols are very, very good. They have the potential to upset Virtus.pro in this matchup quite easily. I think it actually comes down to the map pick ban. When you look at the pick bans for both of these teams in this event so far, they're very opposite. The Mongols are playing a ton of Ancient, Anubis, Mirage, and like one nuke game, whereas when you go over to Virtus.pro, they're playing a ton of Overpass still because that's their home map. Sucks for them that's going out of the map pool after this. Anubis, Vertigo, and then some Mirage and some Ancient. So immediately, I think Virtus.pro are going to move to ban Ancient and get it off the board. They're going to end up playing Anubis at some point in this series, I would say, and then it's up to the Mongols to make sure they don't go anywhere near Overpass or nuke against this Virtus.pro team, because I think that's where they could get hunted on. In reality, I think they're going to have to play them on Mirage and possibly Vertigo and try and challenge them one-on-one on those maps. And at that point, especially on a map like Mirage, I think that's where Virtus.pro are going to have the advantage. Electronic is a great Mirage player, and then James should have the advantage in the op matchup. I think the Mongols have great potential to win on a map like Anubis, and so I would expect this series to go 3 maps, but I think Virtus.pro are just a little bit better. They're a little more consistent. If they can play to the good form we saw in the opening stage, Virtus.pro should be advancing to the quarterfinals in 3 maps against the Mongols. Next up, we have Team Liquid versus FlyQuest, and frankly, this should be a comfortable 2-0 by Team Liquid. If Liquid come out, Skulls, Yakindar, they play to a good level, Twist continues his godlike superstar form, and Kaden can get his picks as the op and not mess with the calling too much, Liquid should be very comfortable in this matchup. Pound for pound, it would be one of the biggest S-tier tournament upsets if FlyQuest were to beat Team Liquid, but Team Liquid are just inconsistent enough for that door to be somewhat open. It would take FlyQuest playing out of their minds, but I'm not going to rule it out. I think Liquid should 2-0, but if FlyQuest had like a miracle map win, that would not surprise me. And lastly, we have a major finals rematch in the round of 12 in FaZe versus Na'Vi. And I'm going to be honest, I think FaZe, they're on the revenge tour. FaZe are looking to continue a historic run right now of making the finals of every tournament that they've participated in since CS2 came out. And if FaZe make a grand finals appearance here and actually win ESL Pro League, I think we're definitively in the FaZe era, and we're looking at one of the best historic teams of all time. But all that is to say that despite me really liking this Na'Vi team, we have to acknowledge they are playing out of their minds in the major. Can JL repeat the godlike form we saw in that finals? That's a huge question mark. If FaZe come and they do what they need to do, they perform as expected, Brokey and Frozen continue to be one of the best young duos in the game, Rain has one of his titular map performances where he just takes over, then FaZe are going to beat Na'Vi. This series should go 3 maps. I think FaZe are going to get their revenge, and they're going to advance to the quarterfinals against Vitality. Speaking of those quarterfinal matchups, first up we have Mouse against G2. And at this point, this is where I think G2's luck is going to run out. I think pound for pound, Maus do not have a star player nearly as good as Munacy or Nico. However, their roster is so consistently good from top to bottom. There is no weak point in this Maus roster. They have great in-game leading, they have a great map pool, they have a great mind for playing the game on the T side and CT side. I think Maus are built to beat a team like G2 because G2 are so inconsistent. If G2 comes out and we get godlike Nico, godlike Munacy, Nexa and Hunter give a good amount of support, and Huxley doesn't blow the calls, then yeah, G2 could win this series. I think it would be a grinder if they did. However, it's my opinion that in this matchup, Maus are definitely at the advantage, and I would not be surprised to see Maus 2-0 G2 and advance to the semifinals. I'm taking Maus every single time, outside of just that crazy potential carry from Munacy or Nico. And I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it sounds like something's ringing, and it appears to be the sound of freedom, baby, because in the next quarterfinals matchup, we have Complexity against Virtus.pro. Now I think Complexity are riding a high here, beating Na'Vi, advancing straight to the quarterfinals. They're feeling good. Grim is having a bounce back tournament. Halzerk is having a bounce back tournament. Elish continues to look like a top 10 player in the world, all the while flashbanging the enemies with his shiny chrome dome. I think this is where VersePro, being a first tournament lineup with Electronic, they're gonna run out of luck here. I don't think they've had enough time to really get that deep in the map pool, formulate all the strategies they want, make sure they're as solid on their core maps as they can be. And plus, Complexity are never gonna allow Overpass to be involved in this matchup whatsoever, and that's VersePro's home map. If Overpass goes off the table, I think VersePro do not have a shot. However, let's keep in mind, Complexity, as much as I love them, are an inconsistent team at its core. They are definitely liable to drop a map, especially against a team of quality like VersePro. I would expect this series to go 3 maps, and I would expect Complexity to get the win, but it's going to be close. It's going to be an absolute banger, and I'm going to be wondering why I bet on Complexity every single round until they pull off that miracle victory. But that's just how it is with this team, and that's why I love them. And for our next quarterfinals in a Group A bracket final rematch, we have Astralis against Team Liquid. Now, Astralis are an interesting team because right now they are riding a high, especially since this new lineup was formed. Device, for some reason, moved to in-game leader and found his star player form again while doing it, which is not something we've seen at the professional level pretty much ever. Someone producing like Device has been while being the primary opper and the primary shot caller. Not even Fallen at his peak, not even Nitro at his peak, not even Katie at his peak, has produced like Device is producing right now with the op in his hands. And that's what makes this so crazy, because if that continues, if Stown and Yabby, despite them being two-time and backstabbing pieces of shit, can continue to perform as star players, this Astralis team is actually surprisingly deep, and so far they've been stomping the competition until they reach the better teams in the playoffs. They reach those top teams in the world like FaZe, and that's when they finally start to fall short. But against a team like Liquid, where they're very evenly matched up, I think Astralis are here, they're ready to make a semifinals run. I think they will beat Liquid, but it's going to be close. I would give Liquid the benefit of the doubt to take a map and put Astralis on the back foot. This series should go 3 games, but I think Astralis have the all-around better roster, and most importantly, the opping factor from Device is going to be defining for this series. And lastly, but certainly not least, we have Vitality versus FaZe, a classic matchup. Now listen, I think this is a different Vitality than we've seen at previous tournaments this year. ZywOo, at least in the group stage, looked like he was back. However, if you cast your mind back to my recap from that group stage, he beat up on a bunch of bums. ZywOo this year has yet to show his god-killer top player in the world form against a true contending team. This is his first opportunity to do so in this tournament, and it comes against FaZe, who are on their own insane run of form right now. So will ZywOo compete? Will the rest of his team give him the support that he needs? Those are huge question marks, and it really is reliant on the series. If ZywOo does not play as the king of Counter-Strike that he can be, then Vitality have no hope of beating FaZe, straight up. This series has 3 games written all over it. I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to FaZe. FaZe have been more consistent. They're currently on one of the best runs we've seen in Counter-Strike. I think Brokey, Frozen are playing out of their minds, and Rops and Rain are one of the best supporting cores of any team in the top 10. And because of all that, I think FaZe win this series in 3 games. But can ZywOo hard carry his team to victory? That's always in the cards. Alright friends, we're almost done here, stick with me. We're on to the semifinals. In our first semifinal matchup, we have MOUZ versus Complexity. And listen, despite all my chest beating, all the American flowing out of me every time I see this Complexity team in the server, I do think this is where the great American hope dies off. I do not think Complexity have the quality of team, the quality of players outside of Elish to hold up against the consistent quality that we see from MOUZ in every single game that they play. What they don't have in major star power, that major top 10 player in the world name value, they have in spades in team synergy and average quality. And that's why MOUZ are starting to break out. That's why they are almost a top 5 team in my opinion. And with a finals appearance here in ESL Pro League, I would put them definitively as the 5th best team in the world. And if they were to somehow shock the world and win, then we have to consider them maybe even a little bit higher. Now listen, that doesn't mean Complexity are out of this. Complexity can definitely win this series. It would just take a great, I would say, overperformance from their players to do so. They could easily take a map. This could go 3 maps. I could see MOUZ winning this in 2. I think a lot of that's on the table depending on what quality we see out of MOUZ throughout this playoffs. But I'm still going to take the bet here. I think if MOUZ make it this far to the semis, they are locked in for a finals appearance, and they're going to beat Complexity 3 maps. And then in what would be an IM Chengdu semifinals rematch, we have Astralis versus FaZe. And I think just like in Chengdu, FaZe are ripe to take this and make their 9th straight grand finals appearance. I think despite what Astralis have done, it would take them playing out of their minds to be better than what FaZe have on offer. Device is definitely the best opper in this series. I think that's very clear, and he's playing at a great form right now. However, I don't think anyone on Astralis can match the rifling output of players like Frozen, Rops, and Rain when they're on point. Now in Chengdu, it was a 2-0. FaZe won very comfortably. Could Astralis take a map off them this time? I think that's in the cards. However, I'm going to be very confident here. I think FaZe are cruising. I think FaZe are going to continue to beat this Astralis lineup, and they're going to do it in 2 maps once again to make that grand finals. And that leaves us with another Chengdu rematch, a repeat grand finals appearance of MOUZ versus FaZe. So will anything be different this time? And I think yes. I think MOUZ are playing better in this tournament than they did in Chengdu. I think they've only gotten better and more concise as a team. And do I think they had the ability to beat FaZe? Yes, I think they had that ability in Chengdu, but they were just unable to perform when the lights were brightest. But now, they're a little more seasoned. I think they are much more positioned to take a map or 2 off FaZe, and they're definitely contending in this finals. However, I think FaZe are still the better lineup. I think FaZe are the best team in the world, and if FaZe win this, we're definitively in the FaZe era. I would take FaZe to win in 3 maps. I would take Brokey or Frozen to be my MVP for this tournament, and I think FaZe are going to walk away from ESL Pro League as the champions, the #1 team in the world, and Kerrigan is going to have one of the best eras in Counter-Strike history to add on to his trophy belt, something that continues to grow despite how old he may be. And those are my predictions for the entirety of the ESL Pro League Season 19 playoffs. I could have just done this by round and split up into more content, but that felt a little bit weird. I wanted to predict the entire bracket. So as we go through the recaps this week, we will reference this bracket over and over to see how my picks turn out, whether I was right or wrong. So hold me to it in the comments down below and get your own speculation going. What do you think is going to happen? Make your own mock bracket and we'll compare them in the comments. Other than that, my name is LionHeartZ. Thank you guys for watching. Shout out to my channel members Furley, Justin, and Jesse. They keep the lights on. If you want to become a channel member, look at the description down below. And also follow me on Twitch, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys tomorrow with the first recap. Y'all have a wonderful day, and peace.